On Home Morning, we shall feed your indulgence with regular slots like reflection, health, discovery, talking points, press review, pigeon news, our guest of the day, sports, culture, and public opinion. Make it a date with us on the show as we usher you to the dawn of a new day with renewed energy. Hello there, group people. Welcome to joining us on to yet another exciting edition of a program, Home Morning. It is always with plenty of delight that we assemble here to keep you informed, entertained, as far as our beloved Republic of Cameroon is concerned. And this morning, like usually, we shall be bringing to you a regular slot like a press review. We shall as well be taking you to a health secret with Dr. Richard Fro to tell us just how you and I could live a healthy life in Cameroon and Africa as well. We shall as well be taking you to a pigeon news to get to understand just what happened yesterday in neighborhoods and perhaps this morning as well. Then we shall be talking about this morning about awards in Cameroon. Money over talent. There are so many awards in Cameroon. You hear they are giving awards to A, they are giving award to B. Do they truly merit the awards, or is it all about money? Because when they give an award to someone, they're expecting to have a huge envelope. So is it all about talents, promoting local development, promoting humanitarian actions, or it is all about money hunting? So we shall be talking about that when I shall be receiving our social critic in the course of the program, who shall be joining us on the line to Yaoundé. Yeah, I'm talking about Max Abiako. He is a social critic, and so we shall be talking at length about this issue in Cameroon today. Hey, this morning we shall be reflecting about humility. That's our very first law this morning. Let's set the ball rolling, talking about humility, being humble in life. And so, being humble, from the very first picture, being humble means recognizing that we are not on earth to see how important we become, but to see how much difference we can make in the lives of others. Being humble means recognizing that we are not on earth to see how important we become, but to see how much difference we make in the lives of others. That is how it is. Being humble in life, therefore, means you should not be looking about yourself, thinking about yourself, caring less about people. In some companies, in families, some family members are too greedy, forget to understand that humility, it is important to care about the well-being of your family relation. Do not say, I must be the one. Why must it be my brother? Why must it be my sister? No, all fingers are not the same. Know where you place yourself, know where you fall, and stick to it. You cannot change destiny. If you decide to force it, you know where it will land you to, right? Yes. All right, let's move over to our next picture. Humility. Leaders with humility recognize that they are no better or worse than other members of the team. A humble leader is not self-effacing, but rather tries to elevate everyone. As a true leader, be it in your family, in a society, in your community, you must care about the well-being of people, how to elevate, changing a dull person to an intelligent person, changing a slow person to a faster person. That's how true leaders do. They do not care about themselves, changing a poor person to a rich person. That's what it entails to become a true leader. How many of you are true leaders in your family? How many of you are true leaders in your communities? It is important for us to begin reflecting about humility today, that it is important for us to try to elevate someone somewhere, be it at your job site. If a colleague is not doing the right thing, try to elevate a colleague that no, this is not how you do it. Try to do it this way, for it is the best way to achieve success. That's what we call humility in life. And of course, our next photo this morning, only humble people love. The humbler you are, the less interested you are in yourself, the greater your capacity to invest yourself in somebody else. When you love, when you are humble, it means you love your people. A true leader, be it a community leader, a president of an association, a team leader in a company, once you are a true leader, you do not think only about yourself. You think about the well-being of your colleagues, your peers, together with whom you share the same vision about. So it's important for us to learn to cultivate the habit of being humble in life. And of course, our last photo this morning tells us that be humble. Oh yes, be humble and never think that you are better than anyone else. For dust you are, and unto dust you shall return. It's as simple as that, right? Yes. Learn to understand that all what we do here on earth, we're on a journey. It's like when you go to a market, everyone is struggling to sell to make some ends meet. If you succeed to finish selling your product, you have to go back home. So let's take it as a point of duty today that we are living in a society where we are in a market. The life that we are living is a marketplace. When you finish selling your products, you have to return. So when you finish, when that bell of quittance will come, you must return to. From dust, man was made, and unto the same dust must man return to. If you tell me you are bigger than me, you've got plenty of money, you've got riches, you have got power, authority, let me see on that last day, if at all, when we die together, we shall not go down 6 feet. Right? Have you ever seen anybody, even the richest person on earth, even if your family decide to beautify your grave in whatever way, you must go down. Down there, there is no power, there is no authority, there is no big car, there is no money. Do you know how much I have got in my account? Can you buy me? Can you buy this dress? Can you buy my car? All of that is vanity. So endeavor this morning to cultivate the habit of being humble. Humility was our reflection this morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Henry Wana, Avian Corin Douala. Friends do call me Uncle Vivacious, but as a title man, I am Ngengendene. Let's invite Sami Diko to do for us Shakel as a place Susete. When after that, I shall be back here waiting for you all.
Sami Diko, le 1 au-dessus des 1, le leader. Eva Mireille Ndondi. Ah oui, écoute-moi ça. Chacun d'entre nous a sa place. Chacun d'entre nous a sa place. C'est vrai, oh oh. Même si l'on est 5 ans dans le même métier, ouais, si l'on est 1 million pour le même métier, chacun d'entre nous a sa place. Éternel le Saint, d'entre nous a sa place. C'est vrai, oh oh. Même si l'on est 5 ans pour le même métier, Jacques Elimi, si l'on est 1 million pour l'homme d'honneur, personne ne pourra prendre la place de l'autre, mon frère. Personne. Ah oui. Vas-y, la Tangana. Que vous soyez ministre, j'adore Bériel, le grand homme. Vous soyez footballeur, Dominique Tiabadiba. Que vous soyez chanteur, comme Sami Diko, le 1 des 1. Chacun a sa place. Chacun d'entre nous a sa place. Simon Pierre Bikele, excellence à la place de l'autre. Ce qui a été choisi par Dieu, personne ne peut le changer. Ah ouais, c'est l'Éternel qui décide. Ce qui a été choisi par l'Éternel, personne ne peut le changer. Dina Bibou, l'homme d'honneur, changer l'autre, Dieu, mon frère. Tu ne pourras changer mon destin, c'est pas? Chacun d'entre nous a sa place. C'est vrai, le grand tour de ma vie. Du Cameroun, Christian Miguel, ouais, tu es, colle-moi la place. au-dessus des mains. Hugues Ngadeux. Debout, debout, debout. Le grand toit. Bonnie, les Ducs of Birmingham. L'industriel Willy Chamba. Le grand tour. Chacun d'entre nous a sa place. Quel qu'en soit ce qu'on fait. On te tient pour là-bas. Yves Mbappé et You. Le golden boy de Daïton. On est Emmanuel Ehoe. Moussima. Quel qu'en soit ce que l'on fait. L'homme d'honneur. Kumba Boy est témoin. Le gars de Kumba. Au nom de Bertrand. Viviane Eho et Moussima. La femme de l'homme. Adadi Diko. Merci à Jean de Grâce Matassi du Cameroun. Je suis toi journaliste. Que tu sois Tassi Mané. Quel qu'en soit ce que tu es. Alain Foucault. Ah oui. Claudicia. Ah oui. N'est-ce pas? Châtelain Léonard. Ministre. Même si tu es ministre. Que vous soyez Bessie qui mané. DJ Sony. Le meilleur entrepreneur. Et de Tino. Mano Killer. En avant. DJ Magellan. DJ Cosmo. DJ Hans. DJ Pacool. Debout, 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 debout. En avant. C'est le 1 de 1 qui le dit à haute voix. DJ Ben. Les femmes d'Afrique. Junior O de Paris. Sur la piste. Billy Show de Yaoundé. Au-dessus des 1. Le leader. Ivo. Et Dexter. Les femmes d'Afrique. De Yaoundé. Gérard de Manin. Le général manager. Alice Tigongé. Martinez Zorbo. Debout. Serge Tamba de Yaoundé.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Beautiful music there from Sami Diko, Le 1 de 1. Chacun a sa place. Just to tell someone somewhere this morning that no one should discourage you. No one should tell you that you can't do it. Endeavor to cultivate the habit of being humble in life. Sometimes some people have achieved their successes thanks to their character trait as being humble. Endeavor to cultivate the habit of being humble in life, no matter the circumstances. It's true, we've got a pride, a level of pride in us, but we should learn to cultivate the habit of being humble. So, those of you just joining us this morning, your life on home morning, it's always with plenty of delight to know that you are there. Those of you from Bakwa Supe, in the Dian division of Cameroon, permit me say, Mberinye. All right, that's how they say good morning to those of you out there in Bakwa Supe. And we cannot forget those of you watching us from the town of Boyam, precisely from Bokwango. We know that a lot of you follow Home TV, and of course, that's how we roll here. We do not forget to invite you all to follow us live on our Facebook page, Home TV, our YouTube channel, Home TV Cameroon. Share the link, and you can equally tell us just where you are writing us from. We shall be delighted to read your reactions here on the show. Now, we are going over to our next slot, which happens to be a health secret with Dr. Richard Froome. And this morning, Dr. Richard Froome wants to enlighten us about infertility. It's true, sometimes men do blame their wives. A lot of them do blame their wives that they are infertile. They are unable to bear them children. Maybe after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of marriage, they began searching for a second wife. They forget to understand that even men too do have the same problem. Sometimes you're blaming your wife, whereas you are the cause of it all. Maybe you have low sperm count, it is unable to fertilize the eggs in the woman. And so it's better for you both to get to understand just what to do if at all your wife is unable to get pregnant after 1 year of marriage. It may be you, it may be her. When the two of you sit down together, seek a solution, there is no doubt that there can be a constructive result at the end of the day. So this morning, Dr. Fu will be telling us just how we can do, what to do, and how to go about it when it comes to infertility. Hello, Doc. Good morning and welcome.
You are welcome once more to the program Home Secret. Today, I will be explaining or expatiating on issues that will create some awareness to help us realize why man is sick each day and looking for doctors, looking for healers, moving from one place to another with deplorable health situations. Why is it that man is always sick? Man, notwithstanding his knowledge, man has a well-developed brain, he has a mind, he has a spirit, it's controlled by the Spirit of God, but he's always sick. Sick, in need of doctors, in need of pastors, in need of prophets each day. But the animals in the wild, they don't know how to pray. They just eat anyhow. They don't even wash their food. They eat with dirty hands. They don't brush their mouth, their teeth. They sleep under very bad or harsh conditions, beaten by mosquitoes, insects. They wound themselves. They eat dirty food, infected food with bacteria, fungi, parasites, viruses, toxins. But they don't have doctors. They are always healthy. They are always fresh. They are always strong. But man, on the contrary, notwithstanding his well-developed brain, man is educated. Until we answer the question why, then the health of man will continue to decay with time. What do I mean by decaying with time? Those who have studied geography, if they say something decays with time, you hear of half-life. I mean, with time, the health of man will be deteriorating. The lifespan of man will be reducing with time until become a time that if man manages to reach 10 years or clock 10 years, it means he has tried. Man is sick because man is breaking the rules kept in place by his creator, the Almighty God, that will guide him. In a nutshell, most of our health problems are coming because of dietary divergence. Ladies and gentlemen, I greet you all. You are once more welcome to Health Secret. I'm your African doctor, African medicine man who deals with medicine. The one you know is healer, Dr. Richard Fu of the Garden of Eden Naturopathic Institute of West Africa with acronym GENUA. Today I'll be talking on the topic infertility. In a local parent, we say problem for born, problem for give woman belly, and problem for woman will take belly will be difficult. I'll be dwelling on the topic infertility. Infertility in both men and women. So I will start with women. Infertility is very rampant nowadays because of our lifestyle. And the biggest cause of infertility is infections. Many chronic infections. Many are suffering from chronic infections, poorly treated infections that stay and get chronic. Some is neglected infection that stay and get chronic. By the time they discover the thing has caused pelvic, it has inflamed the pelvis,
has eroded the walls of endometrium, the endometrium linings or the duodenum linings. The infection has entered the tubes, caused infection in the tube, narrowed the tube, destroyed the villi in the tube, that hairy things in the tube that propel ovum or ova when they are released to send into the uterus, or even when they are fertilized, the villi that is moving, propelling them, the fertilized egg, into the endometrium or the uterus. And most of the where fertilization takes place, even happen to take place in the uterus, in the oviducts or the fallopian tubes, they end up having they call it that is ectopic pregnancies that always destroy the tube, though it's caused by infection, or some may be due to previous abortion that they went there and narrow the distance and cause, or drugs that you take, bad drugs can also cause that. So infertility is a common problem in women, and so many things are involved. As I earlier said, infections are the primary cause. The greatest cause of infertility. Then some is due to our poor dieting and drugs that we take, bad medications. They go and interfere with your hormonal cycle. Fertility is influenced by a cycle of hormones, a hormone that interplay. They go and interfere with your hormonal cycle. Then the foods that you eat that deficient of what makes you fertile, so you are sure your fertility drops. Then your psychology, some people involve themselves in stress. There are so many stressor agents that can interplay with human health to cause infertility. You have mental stress or emotional stress, physical stress, spiritual stress can cause that. You have spiritual factors that can interplay to lower your fertility or to cause you infertile, like those who are being manipulated spiritually. Negative energy enter them, cause them having sex in their dream, their subconscious. They send signals that interfere with their hormonal cycle. They'll find it difficult to get pregnant. Many of them, some will even get pregnant, it will be coming out because of so many things that interplay, causing involuntary contractions and so on, for them to having miscarriages. Then those spiritual or witchcraft, those things can manipulate and cause that. I don't want to overgo into that because I've talked about a lot over my previous program about witchcraft and so on. Many people already understand, but if you are new, just be following this program because I'll be talking about all these supernatural energies, negative energies and so on, which in a religious term they call witchcraft, evil spirit and so on. The holistic medicine will call them negative energies of different types, and different sources. So all those negative energies or witchcraft, evil spirit, they can manipulate and cause infertility. Then there is a stressor agent. They have physical stress, too much sports, over strenuous activities can limit your fertility. Too much weight and so on can limit your fertility. Then your diet, poor diet, deficient of what stimulate your hormones, maintain your fertility and so on, because every organ of the body has things that God has kept in place out there in plants that you consume, different plants and different organs of plants that you have to be consuming to maintain the body. So once you fail to do your work, then God failed to in his mission in your life. So you are the God's hands, God's eyes, God's mouth, God's ears. Once you do the right thing yourself, is God working in you. You fail to do, then God has failed in your life because of you. So you are the God to work in your life. So, so you have to eat the right food, right time, in order to build your fertility. Then the emotional, over excitement and so on, social relationship can also help to attract, to bring down either your energy or bring it up. It depends on the people you interact with, the type of relationship you keep that can affect you either positively or negatively. There are some people, if you are unlucky, you get into a negative relationship, the person's energy, be a man or woman, can affect you. I will be unable to conceive. That is why you can see some couples, they'll stay together, lab test, all of them are fertile, but they cannot have a child because the energies are antagonistic to each other. So but once they separate, This one goes away, this one goes away. Within a month, this one impregnate another woman, the woman will get conceived from another man. But they were together, but they go to a lab test, check everything is okay, but they cannot get a child. The woman cannot be pregnant because they have antagonistic energy. The energies are not compatible. That's why even advise people when you want to get married, don't look at beautiful faces. Don't look at handsome faces. First, see whether their energies are compatible. There's a way you use your instincts and your intuition to know whether your energies are compatible. If you cannot check the other way, which are higher science in natural medicine, holistic medicine, but you just know, you need to know that. You need to know that relationship that you force, relationship that you force them. You can be okay. You want to near your partner, and like something is killing the anxiety. You know the energies are not compatible. You have to know all of this. Try to judge before you go into better or for worse. Even though we don't pray for better or worse, say better for better. Yeah. Then you have infection. You have diseases that can interfere with your fertility. They can cause, destroy. I'm still talking on women. I'll come to men. Diseases that can enter, erode, affect the duodenum walls, enter the tubes, affect the system, cause a lot of havoc in the system to make it difficult for you to conceive. They may even cause debris and so on that will help to block the tubes and so on. Then you find it difficult to conceive. They will have negative energy that are not necessarily witchcraft, being exposed, those who put their phones on their waist, exposed in where there is negative radiation, or those who have gone through HSG, checking whether the tubes are blocked. So many radiation can even cause you to become infertile. Those who have passed through radiation, chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and so on, they can also destroy your ovaries and so on, cause you to become infertile. The drugs that you have been taking, private drugs, can also cause that. There are so many other things that can lead to that. So in a nutshell, what can lead to infertility in women? You have infections, gonorrhea, syphilis, chlamydia, yeast infection, all those things when they still don't treat, they cause a lot of damage in you, lead to infertility. Your diet, poor diet, and so on can make you deficient of what causes produce enough hormones. Then your psychology can cause you send negative signals in you that will impair your system, make you less fertile or infertile. Negative manipulation, negative energies, which people easily call witchcraft, evil spirit, and so on, can also interfere through your subconscious or even directly to cause you not to be fertile. So then a societal relationship, the type of people you interfere with, you can interfere, or the people you relate with, you can relate with people who have some negative energies that can interfere with your sexuality and your fertility. So women, you have to consider all this when you are going in for treatment. If you have, or you want to maintain yourself to be fertile, you have to know how to live your life. Then for men, their fertility mostly lies within their sperms. You know, once the sperm is fertile, it will make a woman. A woman's system is more complicated. That is why women have gynecology. Men don't have gynecology because women's system is more complicated. That is where human beings are formed. They have two wells: the normal well and the womb well. That is why women have two doctors, men have mostly one. For men, there are some men who, what will cause infertility in men. Infertility in men too can be caused by all the things that I also mentioned. The women can be psychological problems, stressor agents that come from psychological problems can impair you, lower your fertility or cause infertility. Then you have infections that can stay in you, erode, cause scars in your urethra, go even inside the epididymis, go into the testes, even affect the germ cells that multiply to produce sperms, eat and destroy those linings, destroy them. Then you can, and there are different types of infections that can cause that. Yeast can cause that. There are so many different bacteria that I want to be naming all, but let me just name the common ones: chlamydia, syphilis, streptococci, diplococci, or Neisseria germ, or gonorrhea, what we call gonorrhea. Even some we always neglect them, but they also cause that things like herpes simplex virus. Herpes simplex virus too can cause that, like herpes, the genital herpes simplex virus too can also cause that. There are so many things that all the things that I mentioned in women can act in a man to cause infertility. And why does the infertility come? Because of poor sperm. You may be suffering from low sperm count, means your sperm count is not up to the amount that gives you a higher probability to impregnate a woman, because medically the minimum number of sperms per ejaculate, number of sperms that is supposed to be found in 1 milliliter of sperm is supposed to be at least 20 million sperm in 1 milliliter of sperm, or 1 centimeter cube of sperm, or 1 milliliter of sperm. It's supposed to be at least 20 million. However, that is where something like a miracle usually happens. Some people can even produce that 20 million, 40 million, but they are not really viable. But somebody produce less than that, but it's the more fertile. The sperm are so powerful that they have energy and they can bring energy on the way when swimming up. And not to produce so much that they are weak, they die without even reaching that destination, where those are rare cases. Yeah, but following the probability, higher chances of conceiving a woman. So always say the sperm should be at least from 20 million upward. When they're from 20 million upward, you produce that range. The things that will determine whether those sperms are viable enough to impregnate women. So that is why we start studying the morphology of the sperm, the structure of the sperm, to know if they are good. We study their activity, their activeness for some period of hours to see if those sperm that can last. Do you produce them 20 million, but within 1 hour they die, or 30 minutes they die? After 1 hour, how many are still alive? Even those that are alive, when you produce them, how do they move fast? How do they move? How many are moving with speed? How many are just moving slow? How many are struggling? How many are just dancing? How many are not even dancing? No sign of viability. So we check all of that, then we conclude to know if the man is fertile or infertile, someone from low sperm count or not. Or those with no sperm count, no sperm, they don't even produce. They really ejaculate liquid, but it's like watermelon without a seed. It means that they produce. People think that what the man ejaculates is sperm. No, what the man ejaculates is not sperm. It's called semen. They are liquids from the carpal gland and the prostate gland that come together to feed the sperm, nourish, also help to swim, join with the sperm that he produces. They are all joined together. So inside that liquid that the man produces is a whole complex liquid full of vitamin, minerals, and so on that feed the sperm and also ready for feed during fertilization. Inside you have sperm, but somebody can produce a lot of that liquid, but there is no sperm in it. That person suffers from azoospermia, means no sperm. In most health institutions, they say sterility. Even though we are experts in curing, I cannot count the number of people we have cured who suffer from azoospermia, but we look for the root cases, then we cure them. We place them on regenerating plants that regenerate the testicles, plants that regenerate the cells in the testicles, plants that regenerate the body, do a lot of work, then promote leukocytosis. They will give them this type of plants and they start producing sperm until you see the sperm go to 90% and so on when you study the viability. So that is that. So I'm advising, then for coming back to women too, you can be infertile because your tubes are blocked, not only because of infection or other things, because of your maybe poor lifestyle, sex and so on, taking bad sperm, infected sperm, they die too much and so on, go and block your tube, or because of previous abortion or abortions that you have committed, the debris and so on, pull it down, they go and block your tubes. Then couple all what I've previously mentioned, they can lead to infertility in women. Then generally for both, I'm advising all the women and the men who suffer, the women who suffer infertility or blocked tube, ovarian cysts, yes, some too can be due to your ovary because of poor diet. You develop fibroids or you develop ovarian cysts. They can also tamper with that. In any of the cases, whether you have suffer from ovarian cysts or for fibroids or blocked tubes or hormonal problems or menstrual problems or infections of any type, in men the same thing, whether low sperm count or azoospermia, no sperm at all, advise people to come to Geneva because we have been blessed with the knowledge of looking for root causes of problems, generate the system to start back like born again, a rebirth in the system, cause some renaissance in the system, cause some, bring rejuvenation in the system, rejuvenate the system. The plan of God, God has put, there's everything in nature. God has kept everything that we need. It's just that we have been brainwashed by our enemies, by the great merchants of the world, to shine away from nature and embrace what they've made to attract our eyes, charm our eyes. And now, because of our stupidity, thanks to our brainwash, we now embrace those things and instead condemn what Mother Nature has provided for us to cure us, to heal us, to do the undoable that has been declared by the limited mind, the limited health practitioner, the limited scientists in their limitations. Thanks to the limitation of their science, they conclude on behalf of Mother Nature, the great universe, the infinite universe, that there are some things that once they fail in, they are undoable. But Mother Nature is using those she has blessed with some wisdom, because not all the wisdom, we know a bit of it, a bit of that wisdom to do the undoable. So I'm calling on all those suffering from infertility out there, both men and women, to come to Geneva. Can we do our holistic consultation? Also screen you through the laboratory. Come out with a conclusive diagnosis. Then place you on a treatment plan. We don't just cook medicine and put in gallons for you to go and drink. Or just start giving medicine to go and fight infertility. No. We look for root cause and so on. Place you on a treatment plan. Start uprooting the root causes one by one. Then start doing other work by pumping energy in your body. Then pumping things that will regenerate your system, pumping things that work as far in relation to your problem. And that is why we perfect miracle. Women come to us 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Some just 2 weeks, they get pregnant. Some just 1 month pregnant, 2-3 months get pregnant. And they thought something that it is a magic, it's just understanding the principle. The person who mastered the principle to produce a plane is ABC. To produce a phone is ABC. A robot is ABC. But the person who does not master the principle see it as magic. So we master the principle. That is why most of those things are ABC. People don't master. When I say, the food is chakra hernia. Hey, cure hernia. It cured the incurable asthma, like ABC, all those things. It's impossible. We were taught in our school of medicine that this is impossible. You have to live for medicine forever and ever. Amen. No, we don't say amen in this. You lie. Before people conclude, the scientists in the Western world conclude they should come and meet us in traditional medicine. Let's school them. Maybe they will change their hypothesis and their conclusions. Catch you in the next program. Keep following us to gain this exciting knowledge and the secrets, and make sure you come to Geneva to solve your problem. God bless you.
Garden of Eden Naturopathic Institute of West Africa, Geneva, our headquarters, Boya, Wonyamavio, Mile 18, Munya Road. Contact 674-286-493. Kumba, beside CPDM Hall, Kumba Town. Contact 674-288-671. Douala, besides Tropicana Ancien Route Beseke Bonaberi. Contact 674-289-523 or 695-936-243. Yaoundé, Biamasilak, from former Texaco, Emirates, former Shells Simeon. Contact 674-289-112 or 657-018-758. Bamenda, Jumabo Mankan, Bamenda again, behind Total Commercial Avenue. Contact 677-319-866. Limbe, Carr Street, Newtown. Contact 674-288-957. Bafoussam, behind Légion de Gendarmerie. Contact 680-219-145 or 697-921-385. For consultations only, contact his healer, Dr. Richard Fro at 677-628-980 or 699-958-893.
You're all welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and many thanks to you, Dr. Richard Froome, for enlightening us about infertility. Like he rightly said, it's important that both parties get themselves screened and, of course, find a way forward. For we should not continue blaming women. Leave them alone, okay? Leave women alone. It might be a shared responsibility. You might be that man who is having a problem. So it's important for both of you to go to the hospital, get to Geneva for you to be screened, and if diagnosed, then they shall put you people on treatment. As good as that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are already at 7:45 a.m. in Big Bekondo, Three Corners, as well as in Chefeng, in Lebialem, division of the Lebialem. And of course, we are moving over to our next slot, which happens to be our press review this morning. On our press review slot, ladies and gentlemen, this morning we are Thursday, April 10, 2025, and of course, let's begin with the Lone Daily Balingo newspaper in Cameroon. That is Cameroon Tribune, which of course Cameroon Tribune this morning is talking about the just ended session of the Upper House of Parliament, carrying pictures of the member of Parliament with the President, the Speaker of the National Assembly, as well as the President of the Senate, Masenya Tsinjifendi, talking about the resolutions which they were able to attain at the end of the day. Now, inside the same Cameroon Tribune, you can read another interesting story like Cameroon Global Fund Evaluating Corporation, Mark Eddington, who has been leading a team of the international organization on mission in Cameroon, yesterday, April 9, 2025, held talks with Ferdinand Ngongo at the presidency. The Minister of State, Secretary General, the Presidency of the Republic, received the team on behalf of President Paul Biya. You can get details of their discussion on page 3 on today's edition of Cameroon Tribune. Still in Cameroon Tribune, you can get another story like Betsy Poultry Complex transformed into slum for IDPs, where chickens once roamed. Some over 18 families have now found shelter therein, claiming to have paid for the spaces for feed meal. Meanwhile, the former director has expressed intentions to relaunch the poultry business. You can get details of that story on page 16 and 17 in today's edition of Cameroon Tribune. Let's leave Cameroon Tribune to go over to our sister paper, that is in Cameroon Insider. Cameroon Insider this morning says UNICEF says 14 million children face severe malnutrition in 2025. As stakeholders appreciate Cameroon's premium cocoa quality. You can get details of that on page 4 in today's edition of Cameroon Insider. Still in Cameroon Insider, HIV, tuberculosis, malaria, and Trump's fund cut. Global Fund profess hope. If you want to get to understand what a delegation from the Global Fund headed by Mark Eldison, head of the Grand Management Division, and officials of the Ministry of Public Health on April 8 brainstormed on the integration plan to address the deficit that could result from the freeze on U.S. funding. Good news for patients of AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria who should be shivering now with President Trump's wide cut in funding. The visits indicate all will be well for these patients across the national territory. Mark Edison also met with the Minister of State, Secretary General, the President of the Republic, Ferdinand Ngongo. Another story you can get on today's edition on Cameroon Insider, April 12th, Decision Day in Gabon. This is all about the upcoming presidential election in Gabon. If you want to get into all of it, then I encourage you all to grab a copy of today's edition of Cameroon Insider. We are leaving Cameroon Insider now to go over to the Horizon. The Horizon this morning on the stand says Grand North, 120 signatories endorse Bia's departure. If you want to get to understand about those who have signed a document endorsing the head of state departure, then grab a copy of today's edition of the Horizon newspaper. Ayabacho acquitted in Norway. You must understand that since the month of September, Ayabacho has been behind bars awaiting trial, but then he has been acquitted as reported by several media outlets in Norway. And of course, Treasury DG says priority for 2025 is payment of internal debt. You can get the details of Mr. Moore Sylvester's interview in today's edition of the Horizon paper. At Paul's National Congress, Barrister Agbobala campaigns for united opposition. Paul's held their National Congress over the weekend in Yaoundé, and Barrister Agbobala was one of those guest speakers who called for united opposition that it is not that time for Cameroonians or Cameroonian opposition parties to begin clamoring for their own selfish interests. It is that time for them to put their head into a single thinking cap and forge and make sure that Cameroon political landscape is being transformed. If at all they change their clamoring form, will be attained this 2025. In another story you can get into this edition of the Horizon, it says an audience with Minepat boss, Senegalese Minister of Armed Forces calls for African solidarity and stronger institutions. These stories and many more you can read in today's edition of the Horizon newspaper. And let's move over to another newspaper on our tabloid this morning, the National Post bi-weekly. It says that 2025 presidential scam to alarms divorcely brazen to rig. The national president of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement Party, CRM, accuses President Paul Biya of unfairly appointing a CPDM loyalist to join the Constitutional Council. The 2025 presidential election aspirant describes the appointment of Senator Monique Oli Ndongo as a democratic betrayal aimed at helping the CPDM party rig exercise. Details of that you can get on today's edition of page 4 of the National Post bi-weekly. Still inside the same National Post bi-weekly, the National Assembly Complex main building to be officially christened Paul Biya Glass House on April 25. And another story you can read in today's edition, West Region, government destroys cannabis, counterfeit medications worth 850 million francs. You can get details of that on page 12 on today's edition of National Echoes. Cameroon Artificial Intelligence Awards, jury set to pick trailblazing innovators. You can get interesting stories of that on page 2 on today's edition of the National Post bi-weekly. Let's leave the National Post now to get down to the Guardian Post daily newspaper, which of course is on our stands. It says that West Region Minat boss sets fire on fake drugs marijuana worth 860 million francs. This is a recent visit by the Minister of Territorial Administration to the West Region of Cameroon, Minister Paul Atanganji, to take stock on the security situation, and of course he sees the opportunity to arrange and discuss with security officials, which they discovered that the West Region has become a hub for marijuana cultivation and sale. So a coach consignment were seized and they were burnt down by the Minister of Territorial Administration. Another story you can read in today's edition of the Guardian Post, it says that Cote d'Ivoire Cameroonian banker John Mokom reportedly found dead in home. The death of this Cameroonian banker has left many tongues wagging on how people do so live their lives alone without any relation. So if you want to get an in total of it, or grab a copy to this edition of the Guardian Post. The Guardian Post equally says that 2025 presidential, in a special editorial, the alarm bell from European Union MPs. They are calling on the immediate release of journalists who are behind bars. We have been talking about it, and we shall continue talking about the outing of the European Union calling on the government of Cameroon to release journalists on immediate account. We are talking about journalists like Mr. Vamuke, former Director General of CRTV, as well as a whole lot of them. And now we end with the Gazette newspaper this morning on our stands, which of course says that transforming Bafut together, Honorable Chebelem Gordon Ayele's re-election bid. If you want to get to understand just what Honorable Chebelem intends to do as far as Bafut constituency is concerned, then grab a copy of today's edition of the Gazette newspaper. The Gazette equally says that in an editorial that Cameroon at crossroads, the urgent need for democratic reforms in the absence of a strong opposition. If you want to get to understand about this editorial, then grab a copy of today's edition of the Gazette newspaper. The Gazette equally says that fuel your dream nation, unlocking human potential. Some youths have had a training session on how they could unlock their human potential as far as entrepreneurship is concerned. And today's edition of the Gazette newspaper, you can equally get another story like religion and politics wrongly accusing the church. How poor leadership is the real obstacle to Africa's progress. If you want to get to understand this story and many more like Cameroon's uncertain future, power struggle looms ahead of the 2025 presidential election, then grab a copy to this edition of the Gazette newspaper on our stands. Ladies and gentlemen, those are the newspapers we have been able to gather this morning. English newspapers, let me be precise. Any of the paper that caught attention, we invite you all to go to the stands, grab any of them, feed the indulgence. Like I always say, if you are not informed, what happens? You are deformed. Let's have Grace Baker do for us challenge. I shall be back after that.
The way Bobe, we made the Tondoba, and they said the Wabe Wulu, we made the Tondoba, and I was Sambamuni, we made the Tondoba, and but then there was sexy, we made the Tondoba. Yo. Dala Yasa Mulana too, we made the Tondoba, the Lewandulu Bulu, we made the Tondoba. Namotende wa sexy, imende tondoba. Ndangwa musamba muni, oh imende tondoba. Yo, oh. Oh, only somebody bongo, na wolo banda wa. Oh, only somebody bongo, na wolo lele wa. You. Makabinga moli malea na sisengie bia muwoli topo na sisengie makabinga moli malea na sisengie pondola boy wamelepe oi Mungu anetoma obati bonde bosinga kakanyi momene Mongele mongo meneno nyamzembo hae Wane otibitibe Mwa premier ennemi Namola nolo wape otibande mabumbe Izele itama Na wolo bobe Izele itama Woza nyamzendolo Izele itama Ezele fumberie Ezele hypocrisie aussi ya nyamsembo Nolo Aussi ya nyamsembo Oh koma bie Komputa nini das Uyanga maloko muni Lie mondolo Oziba mogo nene pemo Malo ziba mogo da pemo Ayo lie mondolo Sese
Makoma Boleya Malaya Nasisengi Bia Momende Topo Nasisengi. Beautiful music there from Grasdeka, La Princesse Grasdeka. And of course, it's always good to have her sing for us. We remember vividly during her very first outing as an artist. That was in 1994 when she came up with her first album, Munyenge. It was a music, and it's still a music that can leave no one indifferent on the dance floor, right? And she has continued with that same spirit. And so, we say good morning to those of you watching us in the nation's economic capital, Douala. Let me say good morning to the mayor of Douala 4 Council.
And if you placed it off the coast of the eastern United States, it would roughly stretch from Boston down to Charleston, South Carolina. And yet, it's almost completely uninhabited by people and totally empty. Just take a look at this global map of human population density and pay close attention to Africa, where there's a big, empty void of people across the entire southwest corner of the continent. Namibia makes the most of that void. There's only around 2.5 million people who live in this entire country that's about the same size as Western Europe. For context, that's even less people than live in the same area in the U.S. state of Minnesota. Makes it the second least densely populated country in the entire world, with only about 3 people per square kilometer of land on average. That's a lower population density than either Australia or Canada, and it's only just barely a higher density of people than Mongolia, the most sparsely populated country in the world. But the Namibian population pattern just gets weirder and weirder the more you look at it and think about it. Mongolia is sparsely populated because it's completely landlocked in the center of Asia between the inhospitable tundra of Siberia and the inhospitable sands of the Gobi Desert. And so it kind of makes sense that there aren't really a lot of people there. But Namibia isn't landlocked and in fact has the 10th longest coastline on the entire African continent. In nearly every country that has a coastline, most of their populations live near to the coasts, for generally obvious reasons. There's just substantial economic benefits to be had by being located near to the ocean, which enables people to conduct maritime trade with the rest of the world, grants easy access to fishing and other valuable maritime resources, and grants better opportunities for tourism and recreation. This is why in the 21st century today, more than 40% of the worldwide human population lives within just 100 kilometers of a coastline. And the United States is the perfect example of this geographic norm. As much as 60% of the American population lives within one of the 772 counties that are directly adjacent to a coast in the Atlantic, Gulf of Mexico, Pacific, or the Great Lakes, which have access to the world's 1 coastline is that it is completely dominated by the narrow Namib Desert, from which the Namibian country takes its name. It stretches for more than 2,000 kilometers from southern Angola, but there are some estimations that it's been around since at least the dinosaurs roamed the planet, making the Namib the most ancient desert in the world. It is also one of the driest and most susceptible to wild temperature variations. Certain areas of the desert only manage to receive around 2 millimeters of precipitation throughout the entire year, and temperatures can range anywhere from a stable 48 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit on the coast to 113 Fahrenheit to below freezing just a little ways inland. This makes the Namib the only true desert to exist in southern Africa, and also makes it one of the least hospitable locations on the planet. And it exists here in a narrow strip along the Namibian coastline for a variety of factors. The southeasterly trade winds generally blow across the region from the Indian Ocean, but they have to first pass over the high slope that trends Mount here. In doing so, winds lose a lot of moisture to Mount East slope. The winds will blow across Africa's escarpments, and by the time they reach the nib, the winds are largely hot and dry. These hot and dry winds then clash with the cold ocean current in the area, known as the Benguela current. This current forces frigid Africa, which makes the waters just off the coast here significantly colder than they are over in eastern Africa. Winds blowing into Namibia from the Atlantic side are therefore generally humid and cold, but when they encounter the opposing dry and hot air blowing in from the Indian Ocean, the colder and more humid Atlantic winds are forced down beneath them. This means that rather than generating rainfall, litter the foggy Namibian coastline. These hundreds of rusting and rotting holes dotted across the coast are why the Namibian coastline is often referred to by its other well-known name, the Skeleton Coast. But it's not just is that while the area might look like a good natural harbor at first, the water there is shallow and the bottom is full of rocks, which makes it not a very good option for large modern-day container vessels. That essentially leaves just Walvis Bay as the only actual usable natural deepwater harbor along the entire Skeleton Coast. And that's why it's Namibia's only actual port and the second largest city after the capital with direct highway and rail access. But immediately outside of these two areas, the rest of the coast is almost completely uninhabited. By anyone, and part of the other reason why is just an unbelievable lack of rivers. With very little rainfall, the entire Namib Desert is almost completely barren of any bodies of water on the surface. Most of the region's rivers flow underground or dry up for most of the year. There's only 2 rivers that flow through the Namib Desert that occasionally manage to reach the ocean, the Omaruru, and, more importantly, the Swakop throughout the year, and they're difficult to predict. And at some points, they'll just be completely dry. This makes agriculture and water sourcing difficult across nearly the entirety of Namibia. And it's also why only about 1% of Namibia's landmass is actually considered arable and suitable for farming. The only river that's technically in Namibia that manages to flow to the ocean all throughout the year continuously is the Orange River, the river that forms the southern border with South Africa. But the Orange River's big problem is that just 33 kilometers upstream from its mouth exists a series of rapids and sandbars, which means that it isn't navigable any further into the interior. This means that Namibia doesn't have any navigable rivers at all from the coast through the Namib Desert into the interior. And that means that the only way to move goods from the empty coast to the population centers in the interior is by building out highways or railroads or flying them, all of which are more